Imagine a world where loyalty is tested, trust is shattered, and the line between good and bad is blended. Welcome to the world of Reservoir Dogs. Reservoir Dogs is the first film ever directed by Quentin Tarantino in 1992. On its release, it immediately sparked controversy as its explicit violence, vulgar language, and offensive language sparked controversy between the audience. However, although it is a controversial film, it remains to be a classic as its portrayal of violence, uh, character development and storytelling, and balance on a small budget was ahead of its time. Some critics may argue that its excessive violence could lead to a culture being desensitized to um, violence and brutality. One could also argue that its language can also have a social impact. One key point in the movie where violence plays a huge role and is where violence plays a huge role and is executed well is in the Mr. Blonde stuck in the middle with you scene, where we are shown Mr. Blonde torturing a police officer named Marvin Nash in a warehouse. In this scene, we are shown or in this scene, Mr. Blonde cuts off the ear of Marvin Nash. However, we aren't shown it. We still are aware of what happens, and it provides a lot of suspense and discomfort for the audience. The movie also causes great suspense right after this, as we are shown a lead up where he's about to set the officer on fire. However, that does not happen, but it causes great suspense in the movie. Other than its violence, however, Reservoir Dogs has many other redeeming factors in the film, as its nonlinear storytelling and character development is ahead of its time. The movie uses nonlinear storytelling really well. For example, when we find out that Mr. Orange is actually an undercover cop, when we find out that Mr. Orange is an undercover cop, we are stopped right there. And in the first act of the movie, we wonder who is the cop. However, in the second act of the movie, we are now wondering what is the reaction to finding out that information. With the nonlinear storytelling, it takes us back to tell more about the character of Mr. Orange. During this flashback, we get a lot of information into Mr. Orange's backstory. Mr. Orange is an undercover cop. However, he seems to be someone with a narcissistic personality, as he makes irrational decisions with the crew that he is with. An example of this is, even though he's trying to do the right thing, when hijacking a car from a lady so that they can escape, he shoots the woman, and they make the escape, keeping his cover hidden in front of the crew. Our last point is the balanced budget of the film. Quentin Tarantino does a great job keeping a balanced budget during the film, as he uses a large set of dialogue throughout the film, less as it is a less action-based crime film and more of a dramatic crime film. Another point of the movie where we see the balanced budget shining is through the limited setting of the movie, as most of the movie takes place in a warehouse. Although this doesn't hurt the film, as we are provided a claustrophobic, more anxious setting throughout the film. And finally, for the small budget, where it shines, is with the cast, the selection of the cast. With less known actors, it costs less for them to cast, but with the performance still given and the authenticity of the characters, it holds as an iconic film. Along with that, they shortened a lot of the cost by having the actors bring their own clothes to set, as it is shown during the film with a tracksuit. Lastly, we see Reservoir Dogs as a iconic film, as its portrayal of violence, character development and storytelling, and balancing on a small budget leads to it being a groundbreaking film. In conclusion, Reservoir Dogs stands as a remarkable achievement.